Today I will explain. Drama romance film. Released in the year 2004. Before starting the film, make sure to subscribe and like this video. The movie begins with a beautiful girl named Alice and a man named Dan. They look at each other when they're walking at the road crossing in London. They're walking in the opposite direction with the crowd when suddenly Alice looks at Dan and smiles. At the same time, he looks at her and smiles back. While crossing the road, Alice looks at the wrong side because she's from America and she is now in London. That's why she's not used to London's road directions. Before Dan could stop her. At that time a car hits her. Dan went close to her. She smiles at him and says, "Hello, stranger." After that, he takes her to the hospital where she is treated and discharged. They both start talking at the hospital, and Dan tells her that he is an unsuccessful writer. That's why he writes an obituary column for a newspaper. When they come out of the hospital, Dan starts going to his office. And Alice also walks with him. On the way, they stop at a Postman Park, where 20 years ago he came with his father after his mother died. After that, he is about to go inside his office. He asks her about her name. She tells him that her name is Alice Iris. After that, they get into a relationship. After 1 year, Dan writes a novel about Alice's life. For publishing the novel he needs some pictures, and that's why he went to a studio where he met an American photographer named Anna. He starts flirting with Anna, and after a while, they start kissing. After that, he tells her that he is already in a relationship with Alice. And she replied that she was also married. However, she lives separately from his husband. At that moment Alice comes into the studio. And she goes to use the toilet. When Dan is alone with Anna, he tries to convince Anna to have an affair. And after a while, Alice comes back. At that moment Alice tells Anna she wants to take a portrait of herself. Anna agrees to take her pictures. And Dan goes from there. While at the photo shoot Alice told Anna that she heard their conversation. And Alice gets so sad. That's why she started crying. 1 year has passed by. One day while chatting on an adult website, Dan meets a man in a chat room. His name is Larry, and he is a dermatologist. Meanwhile, Anna is still in Dan's mind, and that is why he pretends to be Anna to talk to Larry. They both talk about getting intimate, and at the time, Dan asks him to meet. Dan tells Larry to meet in an aquarium where Anna goes regularly. The following day, Larry goes to the aquarium and by chance, sees Anna. She's sitting alone, that's why he starts talking to her, and after some time he finds out that he was being pranked by someone. She tells him that someone else was pretending to be Anna and was talking to him. And at the time, Anna realized that the man who was pretending to be her was Dan. After that, Larry and Anna start spending time, and after some time start a relationship. After 4 months in Anna's photo exhibition, Larry meets Alice. Because her picture is in the exhibition, Anna has already told Larry about Alice and Dan. And that's why Larry recognizes her. After the exhibition, Dan tries again to convince Anna to have an affair, and this time she agrees. They both cheat on their partner for 1 year, and at that time Larry and Anna get married. After some time, Anna and Dan confess to Larry and Alice about their affair. And because of that their relationship is finished. Because of the heartbreak, Alice becomes a stripper. And one day at the club Larry meets Alice. She is working there with a fake name John Jones. Larry tries to talk to her and asks her for her real name. He tries hard, however, she doesn't tell him her real name. And intimate, and she refuses him. The following day, Anna meets Larry in a cafe. And she asks him to sign the divorce papers. Larry starts bargaining with her and tells her that if she gets intimate with him one last time, he will sign on to the divorce paper and leave her. Anna has no option, so she agrees to this offer. Later in the day, Dan met Anna in the opera house, where tells him that finally, Larry has signed the divorce papers. At that time, somehow Dan finds out that something had happened between Anna and Larry. She tries to tell him that she did this just to make him sign the papers. And now Larry will leave her alone. However, Dan doesn't trust her. He goes to confront Larry and wants to talk about Anna. Larry tells him that he never signed the divorce paper, and he tells him to go back to Alice. Dan doesn't know where Alice is right now. And Larry tells him about Alice. While in conversation Larry tells him that nothing happened between him and Alice. And when Dan is about to leave Larry tells him that he got intimate with Alice. Later, Dan goes back to Alice and she agrees to come back into a relationship with him. After that, they go to America and celebrate in a hotel room. They remember the time about 4 years ago on the same day a time they meet for the first time. They talk for a while and in the conversation, Dan talks about Larry. He asks Alice if something happened between them. Alice replied that nothing happened. After that Dan goes to buy some cigarettes and instead of cigarettes, he buys a flower. At that moment, Alice tells him that she doesn't love him anymore and that many things happened between her and Larry. Dan replies that he already knew. Larry told him everything and he has already forgiven him. Suddenly they start arguments, and Alice tells him that she doesn't want to live with him anymore. Alice asks Dan to leave, and Dan gets so angry that he slaps her. In the end, Larry and Anna start living together. On the other hand, Alice comes back to New York alone, and we see her real name on her passport, which is Rachel Jane Jones. And that is revealed that she never told her real name to Dan in her 4-year relationship. However, she told Larry her real name in the strip club. Later, Dan is alone at the Postman Park. There, he sees a memorial of a girl named Alice. She had saved the lives of 3 children, while sacrificing her life. And the last scene of the movie is Alice walking on the road alone, just like in the beginning. She didn't tell her real name Dan, because she had come from New York to London to start a new life. Because her past life was not good, and that's why she wanted to live a new life with a new name. In this film, they have shown us the complication of relationships and how heartbreaking people break from the inside, and then start doing things they don't want to do. And how a single affair can affect 4 lives. And how someone never changes even if they have everything. With that, the movie ends here. Thank you for watching the video. Like and subscribe for more. See you next time. Take care.